Now, according to UN Women Caribbean, 1 in 3 women in the Caribbean will experience domestic violence, with many women often suffering in silence. The voices of survivors must be heard in order to give hope and to show that there is a way out. We're happy to have joining us this morning Makeda Charles, who is an author and domestic violence survivor. She's very active online as well, so it's wonderful to have her sharing with us today. Good morning to you, Makeda. Thanks for agreeing.
Good morning.
To share with our audience.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
All right, before we officially start, let's get to know you a little bit. Where are we reaching out to you from? Tell us a little bit about you.
I'm in New York. I studied social work and psychology and also divinity. And I've lived in America since age 10, and I'm now 35 years old. And currently I work at Amazon part-time, and I'm also applying to law school.
Wow, so that's sounding like a busy time for you. But somehow you found some time to become an author. Talk to us a little bit about what impacted your life so much in terms of domestic violence that it moved you to the place where you felt like you needed to share in this way.
Growing up as a teenager and immigrating from the Caribbean to America, I was surprised that that would become my life story of having to live through domestic violence and take steps towards getting out of that situation and empowering myself. When I first came to America from the Caribbean, I lived with my stepfather and my mother. And my stepfather was the one doing the acts of domestic violence in the home setting, like being verbally and physically abusive and being very controlling and enslaving.
I think from the Caribbean's perspective, and I want to, thank you and commend you for sharing, because a lot of the times in this part of the world, we don't have a lot of people who are speaking out. There are some people who are not all the way sure on what constitutes being overly controlling. I mean, for us, sometimes it's a thin line because of how we are brought up and because corporal punishment is still so widely accepted. So what are some of the differences in terms of what you experienced that others who might be going through it might just be considering their regular day-to-day lives?
If a child is like being subjected to domestic violence, the person might try to control the body of the child and try to groom and bribe the child. If it's an adult woman who is being subjected to domestic violence, her partner might financially control her, and if she doesn't allow them to physically abuse her, then they withhold the finances, and she might be destitute and have no other means of supporting herself. So that might be why she feels that she has to be in that situation.
What steps were you able to take to turn the tide on your situation?
At an early age, I joined a law-related education program, and I began to learn the law and also accessing other programs that nonprofits offer and speaking out to the pastor at the church and also getting educated and working towards financial independence.
Okay, now what was the process like in building the courage to be able to share what was happening with you, with others?
I was fortunate to find trusted adults that I can share my story with, and I would often pray to ask God for help for my situation. And I also needed to be healed inside because it led to low self-esteem and issues of depression. So it was a journey of healing and getting educated and standing up for myself and not letting anyone take advantage of me anymore.
Now you've written a book. How did that come about? Did you start journaling as a therapeutic means of sharing what had happened, or was this purposefully done in terms of writing to help other people?
I always wanted to give back. and I began to discover my talent for writing during my high school years. I guess that would be secondary school in the Caribbean. And I always thought about what I would want to say in the book, and then I finally had time to put it down and get it out.
Do you have a challenge with being labeled as a DV survivor? I know sometimes labels can be hard to kind of work through. And, if
Uh,
so, what do you prefer, one way or the other? How does it make you feel?
um, I think when people know that you've been subjected to abuse, they may have that old view of you being somebody that people has taken advantage of, and they may not see the steps that you take to empower yourself out of the situation.
Yeah, so with that said, the titles, because for me, sometimes I'm wary of giving people titles because it can put you on the back foot, a little bit in the defensive sometimes. So, what's your particular preference?
I don't mind being referred to as a domestic violence survivor. I think that would let me connect with people who are in the situation. But like sometimes people who know you and they know where you came from and they may not understand where you're going, they refuse to see you differently. But it's important that what you think about yourself, that's most important.
As you reflect on all that happened with you, and we consider words like strength,